It is really difficult to talk about gun control and violence in this country. Emotions are always running high, and exhaustion with the subject set in well over a decade ago. There's a sense among anyone that you talk to that something is wrong, and that once outlier events like Columbine in 1999 now happen frequently, and they do. Our public fears are shifting like they always are over time. It was serial killers for a while, then kidnappers, then terrorists, then hackers, and now we are still in the era of the mass shooter panic. If we're going to do something about it, and it's my opinion that there is no solution that does not involve violating someone's civil liberties, then we have to be able to talk about what is happening and know that we're talking about the same thing. Now, what do I mean by that? This monstrosity from CNN. The US has reported at least 45 mass shootings in the last month. They've since moved that number up to 50. And if you see this graphic or scroll past it on social media, you would be mugged by the impression that Sandy Hook's, Columbine's, Aurora Springs, FedEx Indianapolis events are breaking out across the entire country en masse this spring. 45 mass shootings. Except when you read the details, which reveal what CNN is actually covering in this story is a nationwide crime surge. Here's CNN on April 18th, 2021. CNN considers an incident to be a mass shooting if 4 or more people are shot, wounded, or killed, excluding the gunman. So does the Gun Violence Archive. Flashback to September 2014, CNN in a similar story recapping an FBI report on the surge in mass shootings says, between 1966 and 2012, there were 90 mass shootings in the United States. Mass shootings are defined in the study as having 4 or more victims and do not include gang killings or slayings that involve the death of multiple family members. Now, this is where things get muddy, because narratives, they're like climate. They are just around you, and as they change, you lose track of when it happened and when specifically summers got hotter and winter weather started to come later in the year. You just know that at some point they did, and you internalize it as having always been that way. When did CNN, I ask, start to report on bar fights where 1 person ends up killed and 3 injured as a mass shooting? You are not crazy. Absolutely not crazy. If this feels simultaneously new and old, there is no singular authority on how a mass shooting is defined. Whether you look to the Congressional Research Service or the FBI or to the media, there are differences in how to qualify a mass shooting. The general agreement is 4 or more victims involving a shooter. After that, it's not even clear between these entities whether or not you count the injured toward that threshold of 4. Why does this matter? Because narrative is everything. CNN can decide on its definition in an editorial board meeting. They take their cues from gun control advocacy groups, and that's how you end up on Facebook debating with your aunt about gun control, and you think you're debating AR-15s and access to big scary guns, and she thinks y'all are talking about handgun crimes and gang drive-by shootings. This is some of CNN's graphic, and there are a lot of things on here, but just 4. So April 4th, Birmingham, Alabama. An argument between 2 groups of men devolved into more than 30 shots fired at a park on Easter, killing a woman and wounding 5 other people, including 4 children, police said. April 13th, Baltimore. Police said a dice game turned violent when 2 shooters opened fire on the group, injuring 4, according to a CNN affiliate. Sounds like gang violence. April 10th, Missouri. 1 person was killed and 3 others injured in a shooting at a convenience store, according to CNN affiliate KY3, and there was a connection between the perp and a victim, possibly a personal thing. April 3rd, Dallas. In what police said was an apparent murder-suicide plot, 21-year-old and 19-year-old brothers made a pact to kill their parents, sister, and grandmother, which is absolutely horrific, like truly a nightmare. But I remind you that merely 5 years ago, CNN did not consider family killings to be mass shootings, the thing that in our public discourse we talk to one another about as being shooting sprees meant to kill at random, really scary stuff. For public discourse to happen on crime and violence, the words and classifications that we use are what help facilitate the discussion. For example, maybe you saw clips of Chris Cuomo's viral monologue aimed at police reform and police violence. But then you might have noticed that it suddenly veered into shootings, gun laws, access to weapons. Oh, I know when they'll change, when white people's kids start getting killed. Everyone on Twitter then starts debating two different things. Some people throw out Sandy Hook in response to this because a lot of white kids died in that shooting. Now, others throw out the data in which many white people, possibly more, are killed by cops every single year than black individuals. Now, I looked at all this unfolding over the weekend in response to Cuomo's monologue, and I had no idea what the debate even was about. People were looking at the same monologue and debating two different things. Look, I hate to be cynical, but this is the goal. The narrative creep is not an accident. It's being done to disorient and confuse us, while fear of being shot by a gunman is ratcheted up by the media's coverage. And because the media, the likes of CNN, they have told you explicitly that they are tired of talk, tired of prayers, tired of debate. They want new laws. They want action. And for action, you need a crisis. And for there to be a sense of crisis, you're going to have to change the conversation and expand the meaning of what is a mass shooting so you can expand the scope of the threat. I'm going to be charitable and say CNN is not lying. There is no rock-solid definition of a mass shooting. But they're not telling the truth either. They're telling a story.